And in Ukraine, it is day 33 of the Russian invasion. President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned the country is prepared to discuss a neutral status as part of a peace deal ahead of face-to-face negotiations, which are due to take place in Turkey from today.
Now, this comes as the country's intelligence officials warn that Russia is trying to split Ukraine like Korea. Ukraine's generals say Moscow is unable to swallow the country and faces guerrilla warfare if it tries to divide it.
Well, the Ukrainian president said in his overnight address that there had been a cultural shift, with even Ukrainians sympathetic to Russia changing their attitude to hatred in the wake of the killing of civilians and the destruction of cities.
Russia continues to batter Mykolaiv, Mariupol and Kharkiv, with the humanitarian situation in Mariupol described as catastrophic. The Ukrainian Defence Ministry has warned that the city's turning to dust.
And in Kyiv, there are reports that civilians are being forced to drink sewage water as they face starvation.
Although Russian troops are reportedly withdrawing from their positions surrounding Kyiv after suffering significant losses, in America, Joe Biden has personally denied that he called for regime change after he asked for President Putin, or he called President Putin a butcher who cannot be allowed to remain in power.
Well, we can speak now to journalist Stefan Weichert, who's been covering the war in Ukraine. Good morning to you, Stefan. Very warm welcome. Listen, I know you're heading back into the country today. You've spent years, in particular, covering the Donbass region. What are you hearing about these latest suggestions that President Putin is looking to try and split the country in much the same way as Korea was split after the Second World War?
Yeah, it's kind of been expected. I mean, I think from the beginning, one of the things that we have expected to see was that he would try to reach the middle of the country at the Dnieper River and then cut it in two, even as he was, also attacking Kyiv. But I think now, yes, as you said, it seems like he's at least saying that he's going to focus on doing that, to split the country in two. And it is also in the eastern part of Ukraine that the Russian army has the most success, even though you can say that the front line have also stalled several places there.
Yeah. What's all this uproar about whether Biden called for regime change or not? As a journalist based where you are, is it really that extraordinary? I mean, they want him removed. Why not just say they want him removed?
Yeah, that's the question. I think it's just because it's significant that the American president will say that out loud. Because it seems for everyone that's what is the hope, right? Is that as if Ukraine continues this fight and is able to make it very costly for Russia, and Russia isn't achieving what they want, that can be creating some kind of instability in Russia, which could lead to Putin being removed. I think that's what everybody seems to be talking about. Also, many journalists I'm speaking to are saying that that's probably the best case scenario for Ukraine is that they can keep prolonging this fight so long that Russia just have to make some changes. But that Biden says it is obviously politically something getting a lot of attention also in Ukraine, and especially the fact that the White House afterwards was out moderating that statement is definitely also getting some attention.
Yeah. Look, finally, I want to ask you about the situation in Mariupol. Criticism of the Red Cross over the weekend for opening an office just over the border in Russia, as if that was in some way legitimising the bussing out of citizens from the country at gunpoint from the city. And this morning we're hearing that people there are being forced to drink sewage because there's no fresh water. How dire is the situation continuing to be there?
Well, what I hear is that it's absolutely catastrophe. It's absolutely devastating what's going on. I have visited the city several times before the war started here in February, and it's a really big city with 500,000 people living there like normally. And what we can see and what we hear is that the city is completely destroyed. There is not apparently a single building which haven't been affected. And people, these humanitarian corridors are simply not working to a large extent. So many of the civilians who are able to leave are leaving under gunfire. We must say that from the sources that we hear, official ones, that we have no idea to know how many people have actually died. There are some official numbers, but with people getting buried in the backyards, on the streets. Some people still haven't been buried. We simply don't know.
Stefan, got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.